Hey, how's it going? I hope you're having a really fantastic evening, and we've got a fantastic episode of Fandom News Now coming your way. I'm your host, back again for another round of fun news topics, Zach Arnold, and here with me is the host of Fandom Empire Live, Sean Giroux, back for some more fun. Dude, it's been a pretty crazy week on the personal front, but also kind of a crazy week on the news front. Glad to have you aboard.
Pleasure to be here, man. How's it going?
Pretty good. And, we like to try and kick off the show with some of the breaking news that happened today. We kind of pick up different articles that happen over the course of the week, stuff that's happened over the course of the past 7 days since the most recent episode. And there are a few things that are maybe 4 or 5 days old, but there's one big piece of news that we're going to get to right off of the bat here on this Fandom Empire exclusive news broadcast. And that is the announcement from a Deadline article, and then repeated over the course of many different social media fronts, that one Mads Mikkelsen has been cast in the 5th installment of the Indiana Jones franchise, joining, of course, Harrison Ford and the already cast Phoebe Waller-Bridge. This is turning out to be a pretty exciting cast, and adding Mads Mikkelsen to the fun just seems to make it that much more enticing and seems to be helping us build the hype for this movie a little bit more.
Look, I'm a huge Indy guy, like most people. I wasn't the biggest fan of Indy 4, but I think we all love seeing Harrison Ford back. Mm-hmm. Part of me is kind of like, oh, no Steven Spielberg. Eee. But I love James Mangold. Like, have you seen Logan? How fucking awesome is Logan?
Oh, yeah.
And that's not Mangold's only good film by any means. I love Mads Mikkelsen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people be like, he's the villain. He's got to be the villain. It's Mads Mikkelsen. And I was having these...
I'm in that boat.
Me too, right? And I was having these flashbacks to 2016, and I'm like, not a great year for me personally. Obviously, went through treatment that year, and I was just like, well, Mads has got to be the villain, right? Clearly, it's Mads Mikkelsen. And it wasn't. Not to, I loved Ben Mendelsohn. He was great. But Mads Mikkelsen's such a good, have you ever seen Hannibal, the TV series, man?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. How fucking good is he?
That was the clincher for me was his ties to Hannibal. But then, obviously you see him playing kind of an antagonistic role in something like Doctor Strange. And then you see him in kind of this gray character in Rogue One. He's got some versatility to him. Wasn't he also in a James Bond film?
Yes, Casino Royale.
And
he played the villain. A good one, too.
That movie, but it wasn't because of Mads Mikkelsen.
I remember.
That was probably like a top 3 tirades that I've been on in the history of my time at podcasting. If you care to scour the depths of the internet, go take a listen to the Fandom Fraternity's review of Casino Royale. Oh my gosh.
That was fun stuff.
But yeah, Mads Mikkelsen joining the cast of Indiana Jones 5. And let me tell you, man, to have a cast like Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and now Mads Mikkelsen, that is a great 1, 2, 3 lineup. However they shake up, having all 3 of them in one film. What's funny is they're all Star Wars alumni, and yet none of them have acted in a Star Wars movie together. And yet they're all going to be cast in this Indiana Jones film. Funny how that works out.
I think if you're an Indiana Jones fan, or even just a movie fan, when you hear Harrison Ford, and look, even at 79 years old, Harrison Ford still brings it better than 99% of Hollywood. He just does. He's Harrison fucking Ford. But you got Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who does not get enough credit for how talented of an actress she is, and now Mads Mikkelsen. That's not even the whole cast, by the way.
Right.
Right.
That's the top billing that's kind of leaked out right now. But if you take a look at the Suicide Squad coming out this summer, that's just an all-star cast of, name after name after name. There's probably not going to be that many names on something like Indy 5, but I don't think the casting announcements are anywhere near done yet. But so far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing.
I think if there was a time for the hype train to build up, now is it. I also want to take a chance here and just remind everybody that it's not just Fandom Empire Live that accepts the Super Chats. If you guys want to support Zach's show, Fandom News Now, You can send in a super chat. He does Q&A anyways. I know it's a short show, but it goes a long way. Every little bit does help. And if you can't, then just be a part of the chat and have healthy discussion with all of us.
Yeah. Matt is kind of joining this chat saying that he's going to be a bad guy. Frank Riker, I don't know what the pessimism is with there, dude, but saying that we need to stick a fork in this series, I don't know, man. Anything with Harrison Ford in it, I'm really willing to see. So we'll see what happens.
I don't disagree with the take. The series just sort of, I do think the more you make of them, maybe not the worse they get, because I don't necessarily think all the new Star Wars movies are terrible. But the less special they become. But I feel like there's enough time between Indy 4 and Indy 5 that has passed, and I think Indy 5 could be okay, but like after that, just done, no more. And if you do more, this should at least be it for Harrison Ford.
I mean, I am pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure that part of his agreement to return in The Force Awakens was on the condition that they bring back the Indiana Jones franchise.
Yep, it sure was.
So this is a deal dating back to like 2012, 2013, when they first approached him to be in The Force Awakens. And here we are in 2021, still waiting on stuff. But these casting announcements of who his co-stars are going to be does sound pretty exciting. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But fingers crossed.
It's next year, right?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't think filming's even started. I don't see it happening next year.
I don't think it started yet, but I think it still has a 2022 release date.
I'm going to
check that up as we move on.
I see spring of 23, May of 23 at the latest, probably. But time will tell. Speaking of movies and their release dates, that is some of the other stuff that we're going to bring you up to date on, starting with stuff that is going to be coming out sooner rather than later. G.I. Joe Snake Eyes has now been announced to be a theater-only release coming on July 23rd of this year, 2021. Top Gun Maverick has been pushed back again and is now all the way back to November 19th of 21. Mission Impossible 7 is now all the way back to May 27th of 2022. Not really much of a Mission Impossible guy, not much of a Tom Cruise guy, but that is unfortunate to see after all the hype that was surrounding that movie previously. And we also got an announcement. This is something that I'm personally intrigued by, but not necessarily excited about, but we'll have to wait and see. There is word going around from what they announced a few days ago on Star Trek Day that they're going to be filming a new Star Trek movie that is set to come out of summer of 2023, June 9th to be exact.
Is this like just a new movie, or is it tied into the ones that have been done recently?
Currently untitled is their announcement. They were doing a whole bunch of stuff on April 10th, which has been labeled Star Trek Day among the fandom. They were doing a trailer for the new season of Discovery. They were doing a teaser for season 2 of Picard. I think they did some behind the scenes stuff at the new Nickelodeon show. I think it's called Star Trek Prodigy. And amongst all of that stuff, they also just kind of dropped during one of the panels that there's going to be a new Star Trek film, currently untitled, in the works for June 9th of 2023. I don't believe the Tarantino film is going on as planned, so I would believe this to be a continuation of the previous 3 films that are out there, or they could just be completely hitting the reset button. Not entirely sure yet.
I can tell you that Indy 5 is currently slated for July 28th, 2002. Yeah, that'd be something. 2022. So it's slated for next year, but as you said, filming hasn't started. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed. I'm not a G.I. Joe guy. It's not my thing. I love the Mission Impossible movies, though, man. The first one's A lot of people love the second one, and I actually think the second one is the worst one of the bunch. But like from 3 on, they just start to outdo themselves. And I can't remember if you're a Henry Cavill guy, but he's so good in 6, I guess it is 6, the last one that came out. He plays a really, really good character, man.
I tend to lean more towards his work in The Witcher than anything else. I never played the game. I never read any of the written works, but I was really hooked on the end of that first season of The Witcher on Netflix, and a lot of that was in part to his acting. So
That just
I completely
filling.
believe you when you say that he's got range. We just need more opportunities to see him express that range outside of Superman. So finally getting that opportunity, and he's making the most of it, I feel like.
Speaking of that, I believe The Witcher season 2 just wrapped filming, so
And
I'm really excited for that, man.
yeah, toss a coin to your Witcher, everybody. Second season is on its way soon. All right, let's take a look at some more casting stuff. Obviously, Mads Mikkelsen was one of the biggest name drops, even though some people in the chat apparently haven't heard of his name. That's interesting. I would recommend Hannibal. I would recommend Rogue One. I would recommend even Casino Royale to a certain extent, to just take a look at some of his range. He's also in Doctor Strange, so he's pretty out there in pop culture if you know where you're looking. But definitely take a look at some of his stuff. And some other casting news that came out was the information that was revealed about a day or two ago that the villain Calypso is going to be played by none other than Lucy Liu. The Charlie's Angels and Elementary actress is set to portray a character who does not have an obvious comic counterpart, says comic book resources. However, she is believed to be the daughter of the Greek god Atlas, who is one of the sources of Shazam's powers. So, in Shazam Fury of the Gods, we could have a direct connection to one of the sources of said hero's powers, playing the antagonist. And who better to play it than Lucy Liu? We don't have enough female villains in the world, and we're getting one in this Shazam sequel, so that's pretty exciting.
I hope the next time we see a Star Wars movie, which I believe is Rogue Squadron, let's get a badass female villain in there, please. It's long overdue. I like Lucy Liu, great actress. I seen Shazam once in theaters with Jade and Zachary and not this Zach, my Zach.
Not this. You're Zachary.
And I enjoyed it. I really did. Nothing I've gone back to rewatch, but I thought it was worth the price of admission and enjoyed it. But when you said Calypso, I'm like, wait, are we going back to Pirates of the Caribbean? Is that what's happening here? It's the first thing that registered. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's the other confusing part. Apparently, there's a Calypso in Marvel Comics as well, and she is also a villain. So it's kind of strange, but there is a little bit of crossover there, apparently, that you can have some female villains. What's really weird is Calypso from Marvel Comics is like this Haitian voodoo temptress who uses her powers to manipulate the Haitian natives. And in one of the comic adventures that she's in, she actually puts them under mind control and then sells them as slaves to her own government. It's really messed up. But I don't know how messed up Lucy Liu's character is going to be, but considering some of her previous roles and considering how recognizable of a name and how flexible she can be in her roles, I think we'll get some great hand-to-hand combat between her and Zach Levi, and I think we're going to be seeing some really interesting aspects of the DCEU that we haven't been getting from the likes of the Snyder Cut. It's definitely going to be a little different, and for DC, maybe that's a good thing.
We're definitely out of my wheelhouse here.
Yeah, it's a little out of mine as well, but all that you guys need to know for now: Lucy Liu in Shazam 2. There you have it. That's the gist of it. There's been a new Fast and Furious 9 trailer. I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse, Sean. It's definitely not in mine. I confidentially, none of the trailers have ever enticed me enough to actually sit through the entirety of a single Fast and Furious movie.
Well, man, basically when I hear anything Fast and the Furious, my first reaction is this. Not a fan. The original movie is actually decent, and the second and third ones are okay, and then after that, it just gets real stupid real quick. It's not a car movie anymore. They pretend that it is a car movie, but make no mistake, it's not a car movie. It's not Two-Lane Blacktop or American Graffiti or anything like that.
No, definitely not. And yet somehow it continues to make enough money to continue making more films. And a new trailer for F9 came out this week that shows that the franchise is going to space. This ninth installment is finally taking the cars and putting them in outer space. So I really don't know what's left of this franchise that you can milk it for. But apparently an interviewer had the idea that since this franchise and the Jurassic World franchise are owned by the same company, why not have a crossover? And apparently even the director, Justin Lin, is not entirely opposed to it. In that interview, he says, I'll never say no, never say never to anything. And the fact that part of our philosophy is not to ever be boxed in or labeled, well, that's all I will say. And then to further it, Michelle Rodriguez, one of the co-stars of the film, says, I love it, dude. I'm all in. We were talking about this yesterday. It's so funny, but I was talking about this yesterday because once you reach a certain pinnacle, there's nowhere to go but cross-brand and merge. It's what big corporations do with each other. And when they get too big, you know what I mean? You just have to brand and merge with each other. So I don't know what to make of that. I love the Jurassic World franchise. I can't stand the Fast and Furious franchise. But I think it would be really funny to see a bunch of dudes in hyped up cars trying to outrun like a T-Rex or a Velociraptor. So if both of those franchises are willing to go that derivative, it could make for a really entertaining piece of cinema.
Frank Riker says they're one movie away from racing around the core of the Earth while searching for Atlantis.
You are not entirely wrong. But here's the deal. We have thought of the Fast and Furious franchise as overdone and needless and ridiculous and over the top. And there's another franchise that has kind of been considered that way, and that's the Monster Universe, the Godzilla movies, the King Kong movies. And I'm jumping around in the show notes a little bit here, but I think it ties in well with that over-saturated, unnecessary type of storytelling. We really don't need to see monsters punching and hitting each other. We don't really need to see, 50-story dinosaurs and gorillas breathing fire and hitting each other with subterranean axes made out of stone. Oh, sorry, that may have been a bit of a spoiler. It's been out for a few weeks, folks. Go watch the fucking movie. But, taking a look at the box office report on Godzilla vs. Kong, it's made over $350 million worldwide since its release. It's literally a giant fire-breathing lizard getting punched by an overgrown gorilla. And yet it's entertaining enough to make $358 million, coming off of a $32.2 million opening weekend at the box office and $121.8 million globally in its first week. We are all the way up to $358 million. So is the Fast and Furious franchise done? You bet your ass that it isn't. Because if people are going to pay $358 million to go watch Donkey Kong beat up anybody, then it's going to be a moneymaker.
So a couple of things. Firstly, who would have thought Reptar versus Curious George would be, so gravitating?
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. It's entertaining. I enjoyed the shit out of it. But it is what it is. It's not going to be like some Academy Award winning film, especially for its acting. But it was entertaining. And it was a nice eat up of 2 hours. And it's going to make for a great date night in a week or two. But I definitely did not see it making $358 million globally, especially during all of the COVID stuff we've got going on.
I will say this though, like that number would be a lot higher during different times. It'd be twice that. That said, this time last year, it wouldn't even be half that. So, take it for what it is. Things are starting to turn around. Not here in Canada. Fucking bloody hell. Not. It's as bad as it's ever been up here, sadly. And I keep getting questions, by the way, is TIFF happening? Is TIFF happening? Nothing's official yet, but no, TIFF is not happening. We're not even close to being able to even think about doing an event like that up here in Canada anytime this year.
It's a Buffalo, though.
So sadly, no, TIFF won't happen. But I think it's a positive sign, man. And I think as long as the movies that this would be a movie that would push towards $1 billion worldwide, maybe not get there, but 700, 800, 900 million. And if they under normal circumstances, right now, if they get to 500 or even 450, that's a huge win in today's day and age. Now, does that mean the movie's going to make money? I don't know. I don't know what the budget is. The marketing was crazy. It might barely break even at that point, but you know what? At this point, the studios will take that over losing 100 million or 150 million, and that's what they were all scared about. So even a minor profit for them is better than something extremely small.
I'm taking a look at what the Godzilla versus Kong budget was.
Remember, that won't include marketing.
Yeah, not including marketing. I'm taking a look. How much did it cost? Approximately $160 million to make.
So you're probably looking at somewhere between 240 and 250, maybe even more. So yeah, it's made some money then, which is fantastic. And probably not as much as they would have liked, but hey, let's take a glass half full instead of, a bottle completely empty and be like, hey, things, at least for you fellas down there, are starting to turn around, and that's great for the movie industry.
We're seeing a lot of really great interaction in the chat. Thank you to our chat mods that are helping keep everybody engaged. Toronto Freddy is down in there in the chat. I saw Jade helping out. I think Matt Whitfield was there. Thanks to everybody that is helping us keep up with the stuff that's going on or in the chat there. A reminder to send in a quick super chat if you have a question that you want us to discuss towards the end of the program. We're about halfway done now, so send in those super chats. We'll circle back around to them, talk about them during the Q&A segment at the end of the show. One of the other things that we saw not too long ago was the Army of the Dead trailer, and it shows organized deadly zombies set in Las Vegas. It's a follow-up to the 2004 film that was also directed by Zack Snyder, and the screenplay was made by none other than James Gunn. So this movie is going to be seeing a limited release in theaters, but is also going to be going to Netflix on May 21st, starring Dave Bautista, with appearances by Hiroyuki Sanada, Theo Rossi, and even Tig Notaro. Personally, I looked at this undead tiger, and do you know where my train of thought went to, Sean? I bet you have just one guess as to where my train of thought went seeing that undead tiger.
One second. Here's my immediate response to that. No! He's talking about zombies, people. Fuck.
Zombies! And even my buddy Jake Damon made comparisons, like taking the poster of the undead lion from the first Zombies film and doing like a side-by-side, and he's like, man, Zack Snyder's Zombies looks really good. And not gonna lie, it gave me a lot of flashbacks to that particular film. Imagine if Zombies had a Zack Snyder budget. I'm just saying.
Ugh, man. Man, I can't do it, man. I won't do it.
We got a tiny glimpse of it right there with that undead tiger. And just the premise, the plot, very similar to the premise that we got in the 2004 film from the things that I read there. Haven't gotten the chance to see it yet, but it is available on certain streaming platforms if you know where to look. So I really am kind of wanting to go and watch Dawn of the Dead. And then whenever this film releases in May, I want to do like a double feature and go like back to back watching how these two films tie together and in what way, because it looks like it could be shaping up to be a pretty interesting franchise. But I mean, to be 17 years apart between the movies, that's quite a bit of a gap to fill. And let's be honest, the CGI of 2021 is eons better than the type of stuff that you got in 2004. So it'll be interesting to see how those two connect. It'll be interesting to see how this movie plays out. Bautista has kind of proven his range a little bit in recent films and is getting another chance to shine here in this movie directed by Zack Snyder. Fresh off of the Snyder Cut and already making waves with this trailer here. Should be interesting. Bridgerton fans will be happy to know that even though the second season hasn't dropped yet, It's already been renewed for seasons 3 and 4. Apparently, Netflix executives, continuing with some of the Netflix trend that we were just doing there with Army of the Dead, Netflix executives have liked what they've seen of season 2 so far enough that they are willing to renew it for not 1 but 2 more seasons. So we're going to be getting a total of 4 seasons of Bridgerton on Netflix, much to the chagrin of myself and much to the delight of my girlfriend who's making me watch it with her. Don't get me wrong, the costume design is fabulous, but without Regé Jean Page, the show is going to be meaningless to me. He was the reason I was watching it, and it's already been confirmed that the Duke of Hastings is not returning for any of the following seasons. His arc is done. His character arc is finished, and so I'm going to have nothing left to watch, nothing else worth watching. So, yeah, Bridgerton got another couple of seasons. Don't really know how to feel about that. Have you seen any of that show yet, Sage?
No, but I am curious. Have you gotten the special lady in your life a little more into Game of Thrones yet?
Trying to.
No.
Okay, the trouble is getting our schedules to match where we can actually watch enough of the show to continue its progress and then pick up again at a later time where she actually remembers everything and can keep going. We do have some Game of Thrones news to talk about towards the end of the program here, folks, so stay tuned. A quick check-in on the chat. Kenny Crayley, a longtime listener over at IPC, joining us here on Fandom News Now. Army of the Dead, not for me, not a huge zombie fan except for The Walking Dead. Heck, even DC's Legends of Tomorrow had zombies in it. I think the trailer is dope, says Toronto Freddy. Trust me, Zach, the budget for Army of the Dead was way bigger than Zombies. Oh, I can assure you it was. I'm pretty sure they made Zombies on less than $1 million. The whole movie. So I can guarantee you it had a better budget. 110%. Speaking of movie studios and movie budgets, we're not going to have to worry about movie studios or movie budgets for one Blue Sky Studios, which officially closed down this past week. Fox's animation production, when it was bought out by Disney, was going to close down, and it officially did. Disney's buyout of 20th Century Studios took down that film, so it produced a total of 13 movies in its time and is responsible for the Ice Age anthology, but it also made movies like Robots and Rio. And from what I have seen on social media recently, Rio is actually expected to end up on Disney Plus in the next couple of months. So my question to the chat is, what is your favorite Blue Sky Studios production? Is it Ice Age? Is it Robots? Is it Rio? Is it something else? Let us know in the chat, and we'll talk about that and any other questions you've got for us towards the end of the program. We're running short on time, so I'm only going to go through these last couple of things briefly. Mark Hamill is teaming up with a comedian for his next production. I am a huge fan of Bert Kreischer. I have watched like his 3 or 4 most recent comedy specials, and I laugh every single time. And, of course, we all know and love Mark Hamill from Star Wars and anything else that he's been a part of. I love him as the voice of the Joker in the Batman animated series. Does a fantastic job there. But they are making a movie about his stand-up routine called The Machine. And it's a routine where he recalls, Bert does, a time when he accidentally joined the Russian mafia while he was studying abroad in the 90s and earned the nickname The Machine. If you really want to know more, just look up Russian Mafia or The Machine on YouTube after this video is over, of course. It's some of the funniest stories that I've ever heard. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And one of the main characters in that routine is a Russian mafia leader named Igor. Speculation on social media has already come out suggesting that perhaps Hamill is going to be playing one of the Russian gangsters. I would be very, very much on board with seeing that, but it's still not entirely confirmed, but believed that that's what's going to be happening in the making of this film that is produced by Legendary Pictures. So stay tuned for that. Bert Kreischer and Mark Hamill teaming up. Sage, we mentioned Game of Thrones news. I don't know if you saw anything from the social media team from the Game of Thrones studio, but they were posting a lot of stuff earlier this month talking about the Iron Anniversary, the 10th anniversary of the premiere episode of the show. And at one point, they just posted a very cryptic tweet that simply said, "Winter is coming." And the next thing you know, Twitter is abuzz talking about how this one tweet on the Iron Anniversary could be some sort of subtle messaging for something else in the works with what is probably HBO's most popular franchise. Could it be the announcement of a new show? There are some people who are even suggesting that maybe they're going to do a Snyderverse type redo of the final season. I don't necessarily see that happening because of scheduling conflicts and the fact that the story is what the story is, but I can't help but be amused that a show that was super popular and then got super panned is now super trending again because of one 3-word tweet: "Winter is coming." You have any thoughts on this?
Well, they just announced a new 4K box set. I hope that's not what they're referring to, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. The box set does look nice. When I have a bunch of extra flow, I would love to be able to get it. I'd love to all my favorite. Like I want to get Supernatural and I'd love to get Game of Thrones too. But physical media is just not a priority for me at the moment. And for me, it would be, I'd probably, I don't know if I'd actually watch them. It'd be more like a collector's item to have in my studio down here, because I just stream everything, right? So,
Right.
who knows though? Like it could also be, Martin's been working on The Winds of Winter for how long now? Like, is it ever going to come? Like, I feel for him because the show passed him, and then you get stuck as a writer. And like any writer, do you do what you were originally thinking about doing, or do you intentionally do something else, or do you try to go closer to what the show did? He's in a no-win spot, kind of. I hope it's that, even though I literally have only read like half the first book, and it's very different from the TV show, but still very compelling. I hope you're right, though, and it's something about a new TV project, because we do know that at least currently House of the Dragon is slated for next year. It'd be late next year at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed back to 2023, though.
Well, I suppose time will tell, but it's interesting to see people talking about Game of Thrones again, because whenever that final season happened, people aired their grievances for about a week, maybe a month, and then after that, nobody talked about Game of Thrones. None of my circles were talking about it. Social media kind of went quiet about it. It was like everybody talked about the things that they hated about it, and then they were done with it. So if there's some sort of revival being planned for the franchise, now is probably one of the best times to jump on that opportunity, especially considering you're celebrating the 10th anniversary of the debut. Like, if there was ever a more perfect marketing time, this would have to be it. But stay tuned for more, and if anything does come up, you can bet you'll find it here on Fandom News Now. We do cover some horror and Halloween-related stuff. I think I saw some updates in the Fandom Empire Den about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Obviously, we're keeping close tabs on what's going on with Halloween Kills. What is new on the horror front, my friend? What have you got for us?
Well, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're doing a sequel to the original movie, and they're taking the same trope that Scream has decided to take, that Halloween took in 2018. They didn't title it. A lot of people thought it was going to end up being Halloween Face Your Fate as the actual movie title, or Halloween Returns, which they didn't go with because there was already a well-leaked script that was around that was something completely different. So they just went with Halloween, and they followed their lead because this next film is just going to be called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And don't be surprised if whenever we finally get another Nightmare on Elm Street and whenever we get another Friday the 13th movie, if they're just titled those things and there's no subtitle, just for marketing purposes, to be specific. So that is what I would say is going on there. I don't even know if there's a release date. I know people were posting in groups, it got rated R. It's like, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course it got rated R. It's got
the word massacre in it. If you make a movie with the word massacre in it and it turns out to be PG-13, I'd be sorely disappointed. Like, what the hell?
Now, I've asked you this before, and I honestly can't remember the answer, man. But you, being in Texas, have you passed by the house at all or anywhere in that area?
So I actually tend to try and give it a wide berth, mostly because it's a tourist trap. Everybody goes there. They all want to take pictures. They all want to, do the touristy things. And there's just other types of tourist attractions that have garnered my attention more so. Like, I guess I would rather go look at actual Texas history, something like the Missions or the Alamo or something like that, as opposed to a movie-themed tourist trap. So I'll probably make my way over there one day, but I haven't been there yet myself, no.
And if and when I finally end up in Texas, I will kick my own ass if I don't go there. So, gotta go there. That's a must for me.
Hey, dude, if you make it to Texas, I will show you all the best spots in the state, dude, including a little barbecue joint that is literally 10 minutes away from me that will ruin you for all other food. Guaranteed.
The problem with me, man, is I don't handle spicy stuff well at all.
Oh, it's not spicy.
Like, as I say, I'm the guy that says Domino's pizza sauce has a kick to it, so...
No. Nothing spicy. In fact, their sauce is probably a little more tangy than anything. We'll probably steer clear of the sausage, but their brisket, their turkey, oh man, their ribs even, some of the best food you'll ever have. So it's really great stuff. All right, time to go to the Q&A section in the chat. So I'm going to turn my head and take a look at the chat that we've got here. We've got a few questions. Go ahead and send them in now. Final call for stuff for you and I to talk about here, Sean. I Love Dune and Star Wars asks, thoughts on the Halloween Returns script? I have not seen anything about that. Maybe you have, Sean. Do you have thoughts on that?
Look, my cousin fucking loves it. He puts it up on a pedestal. That's fine. I think it's good. I don't think it's, the best thing since sliced bread. It probably would have been an average Halloween movie. I'm glad they took the direction they did, though, with Halloween 18 instead of it. It was still a solid script, though, and a solid idea. I also noticed that I Love Dune and Star Wars says people who have seen Dune, and there's a few of them, say it's incredible. That's all I got to say for this upcoming Villeneuve masterpiece. I have to ask you, Zach. I'm going to butt in here in line. Have you seen Blade Runner 2049, and what did you think of it? Because that was a Denis Villeneuve film, too.
I really enjoyed 2049. I ended up having to go to my local theater at like an 11 p.m. screening in order to watch it in time to review it on IPC. And so it was kind of a really interesting experience because it was only myself and like one or two other people that caught that really late night screening. But the visuals and the post-apocalyptic nature of it, I was actually really surprised by how well Gosling played his part, and the entrance by Harrison Ford. I can only imagine if there had been a full house, how loud it would have been seeing him when he popped in the way that he did. It is some of the best visuals I've seen in a long time, but it's also one of those films where it's like I only see it once every year or two because it's not one that I'm like always in the mood for, if that makes sense.
I seen it opening weekend with Jade and her sister. I wasn't sure what to expect because I'm not the biggest fan of the original Blade Runner film. And then I seen 2049, and I'll say this: I haven't seen it since. It's not a matter of I don't like it. I own it on 4K and on Blu-ray, or maybe it is 4K. I don't know if it's 4K or Blu-ray, or 4K Blu-ray. And I know it's on streaming services. I haven't seen it since that opening weekend, but dude, when I seen it, completely blown away. It made me jealous because I thought that is what Star Wars should look like right now. That's just my opinion. Doesn't make it right. But I feel like that's the world the new Star Wars should be. And to me, Star Wars, the new stuff, looked more like want to be Lord of the Rings, and it's just not. I mean, I've only seen Lord of the Rings once, and Lord of the Rings is better than those, in my opinion. But Blade Runner 2049, to this day, and I stand by this, is the personal opinion, best visual movie I have ever seen in my life. The movie with the best visuals. It just blew me away, dude. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did.
I've had a few upstart surprising films like that before. I don't know if I put it on quite as high a pedestal as you do, but I do hold it in very high regard. Let's take a look at some of the other questions that are being sent in here. Solid Saturn says, when do you think the Kills mask will go on sale / be clearly revealed? I'm going to go in total troll mode here, Solid Saturn. I'm going to say you're not going to actually see the mask until you actually see the movie, and it's not going to go on sale until after the movie hits theaters. So fuck that.
Well, I mean, we have the mask right here. Quite literally. It's a 2018 mask rehauled into the Halloween Kills mask. So, no, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Trick or Treat Studios mask. It won't be out after the movie. It'll be out before the movie, and as long as the movie holds its October date, it'll come out probably September, early September, Labor Day area, in and around there, and it'll be just like the 2018 mask when it first came out. Not an easy find, and it'll probably be the same. So, and it'll probably be at the going rate of your $90 Canadian, whatever that works out to be American. So, Kenny asked you a question a little higher up, Zach.
Yeah, I'm seeing that, and I'm having a hard time coming up with a solid answer for it because I'm not sure what hasn't really been covered. You know, he asks, what DC characters that we have not seen in TV and films would you like to see in the future? You know, my first thought keeps going to King Shark, but I know we're seeing him in Suicide Squad, and I know that we've seen some of him in The Flash. I just don't think he's gotten quite the attention that he deserves. So I'm hoping he gets adequate screen time in the Suicide Squad because I'm a big fan of supervillains. I'm a big fan of sharks, and King Shark is just kind of hitting all of those notes for me. So I guess that's the answer that I would give, even though he already has gotten some screen time. I just like to see him get a little bit more, I suppose.
Yeah, for me, I gave the answer on the last show. It'd be a Nightwing movie.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. We've seen a little bit of him on like some of the animated stuff, but I think there's definitely some potential there. And I think they were trying to do it at one point after The Dark Knight Rises. I think they were trying to do something with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it never materialized. So definitely some potential there that's just never been acted on. So, all right. Well, I think that's about all the time we've got for tonight on Fandom News Now. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and contributing in the chat. Remember to follow Fandom Empire here on YouTube, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And also find us at the Fandom Empire Den on Facebook. Go find us on Twitter, Instagram, and so much more. We've got shows about Star Wars, like Across the Stars. We've got the Rick and Morty fan show. There's the Fandom Empire live show that's now on twice a week with Supernatural and Game of Thrones shows also in the works. You can also follow me personally at Zach the Voice on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm working on getting Zach the Voice on Instagram. It's a process, but I'm working on it. But for now, just go to Zach.thevoice on Instagram. But Sean, unless you've got anything else to talk about, man, I think that covers it for tonight.
All I'll say is everybody who likes the content at Fandom Empire, keep your eyes open.
There's going to be some more content on the way. Just going to toss that out there and tease y'all a little bit.
And it has nothing to do with what you just mentioned.
Right? Man. We'll see what happens there. Saucy. But that's all for tonight's episode. Hope to see you all this time next week. But for now, for Sean Giroux, I'm Zach Arnold, and that's Fandom News to us.